Before sunrise, Burn Dairy and Deli is preparing to fuel your day with hot coffee, donuts, muffins, breakfast sandwiches, and other morning staples. For lunch, grab a giant deli sandwich made the way you like it. Pizza, wings, wraps, or a fresh salad. Plus, something to wash it down. Then pick up dinner or a sweet treat and other pantry essentials. Now you can get your Burn Dairy and Deli favorites delivered with DoorDash. All day, every day, you can count on Burn Dairy and Deli. It's all good.
Hi, this is Jay Billis of ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
Here we go on the ML Sports Platter, all brought to you by Stanley Law Offices, Burn Dairy, Rosie's Corner, the Syracuse Fitness Store, and our great friends over at Axe Exotic Pets. If you're in and around Central New York, they've got the wildest, coolest, most exotic pets, snakes, birds, you name it, all your amenities. And of course, Axe is on Route 11 in Cicero, in and around Central New York. They will ship some things to you as well, so go find them on Facebook if you live out of the area. They will ship some things, depending on what it is, anywhere in the country. Axe Exotic Pets, that's ACK''S. Axe Exotic Pets, Route 11 in Cicero, a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. Let's talk a little bit about the rest of the season for the Packers and the Cardinals. I kind of wanted to do a segment on these two teams off of watching last Thursday night's football game, which was, I thought, a really good, solid, physical matchup. It wasn't really littered with offense until a little bit later in the game. For example, Aaron Rodgers didn't put up arcade numbers. I thought Kyler Murray was actually very human in this game compared to what he's been. He's been Superman, prior to. But it was just a really good football game, a really solid, hard-nosed, two of the best teams in football. I'll tell you this. Before the game, when I found out that, Lazar was out and Adams was out, I said to myself, who do I pick still? Because on the one hand, I looked at it as Arizona being the home team, Arizona just having more weapons, on and on it goes. But then I said, but Rodgers is on the other side. And when guys are out, this happens a lot in sports. I don't care if it's hockey, baseball, basketball, I don't care. When guys are out, and it's assumed that because your number one wideout is gone, or your number one defensive end is gone, or your number one centerman is gone, or your number one, RBI guy is gone, or your number one three-point shooter is gone. It's assumed that if one of those guys is gone, that, or two in this case, you're dead, right? Other players on the team take exception to that. If you don't think that, you're crazy. They get super pissed when they hear, going to be a tall order now for Green Bay to win. Instead, Rodgers was mechanical, he was surgical, and he did just enough against a really aggressive Arizona defense, which both defenses were extremely aggressive and I thought solid in this game. Green Bay's more so, especially in the end, which I'll get to, the terrific playmaking and interceptions. Rasul Douglas, I mean, that pick, the concentration, the tipping, keeping the feet in the end zone and all the rest, kind of like a backdoor throw for Murray. Receiver doesn't turn around, and Douglas, it's kind of like tipping around, and then he focuses in on it and catches it and turns, and that's the ball game. And, he turned to the Green Bay fans, and they went wild, and that was it. But we didn't know that, Green Bay's defense had this in them. If you think about it, Green Bay was 6-1 going into this game. And by the way, isn't it just great when the Packers are good? I mean, I know the NFL doesn't matter who's good when, because the ratings are crazy. The NFL has separated itself from everything so far by now. It just doesn't matter who's good. You don't need the trademark teams to be good. It doesn't matter because we have 14, 15 million people in some cases watching the worst Thursday night game you could possibly imagine, plus betting and fantasy and all the rest. And that's part of why people are watching. But I will say that when the Packers are good, and Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. And they're such a monster brand, and they're unless you're a Bears or a Vikings fan, to a certain extent, I guess a Lions fan. Although I don't know how. I mean, I don't. If I were a Lions fan, I would just give up at this point. But like when the Packers are really good, they're hard to hate too, and so it's like, oh yeah, because you think of echoes of Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr and all the old guys, and Brett Favre was one of our favorite quarterbacks of all time. For the most part, Packer fans got ticked at him. I think now that a lot of that storm is blowing over, his time in Minnesota, his time with the Jets, etc., I think most people can realize, and I'm 42 years old here in about a month, Brett Favre was probably one of after all of my Buffalo Bills guys, Brett Favre might be my favorite football player. He's in that category after my Bills guys, Thurman, Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Bruce Smith, some of those guys, Steve Tasker, and then it goes into Cornelius Bennett, and then it goes into, like the Brett Favres and the Joe Montanas and the John Elways and Jerry Rice, certainly. So, but, you think of those things with Green Bay. And Green Bay is a big brand. It's a huge franchise, and it's a huge, huge, huge win on the road against Arizona. When Rodgers is good and the Packers are good, it just makes the NFL that much grander, right? And, we didn't know the Packer defense had this in them. Rasul Douglas with 9 tackles, all of them solo. He had an interception. Campbell and Stokes were everywhere. I think Eric Stokes, by the way, is becoming a ridiculously great corner as a rookie. Now, I'm fine with what the Bills did in the draft, but me being a Bills guy, and I defensive end was a priority, as was corner, I thought. The Bills still put their eggs in Levi Wallace's basket. So far, overall, it has come back to bite them. You think about it like, oh man, maybe kind of making sure that you get up there, because I think Stokes was taken, he was at 29, and the Bills had the 30th pick. That's what it was. Then KC had 31, and then Tampa had 32. At 30, to make sure that you get Stokes, do you trade up 2 spots? Or I don't know. I'm not saying Eric Stokes is going to be better than Greg Rousseau. I'm not saying that. But the Bills needed a shutdown, lockdown corner opposite of Trey White. That was a major, wicked, glaring weakness. Defensive end and getting pass rush, help was big too because of what happened against Mahomes in the championship game. But I think what you have to kind of take a look at here is that Brian Gutekunst, a guy who's been just absolutely raked through the coals by Aaron Rodgers, he's built a pretty good roster, man. This team wins 12, 13 games every year. I think this year they're going to win a 14. I picked him to win the Super Bowl this year. He's built a damn good roster, man. I don't understand for the life of me, I never did, why Aaron Rodgers had issues with his people, why he wanted what Mahomes has, and, I guess to this point Josh Allen has, and Patrick Mahomes has. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and who am I forgetting? And Tom Brady. Yeah, that guy. Are you kidding me? Devontae Adams is a clear-cut number 1. Equimanius St. Brown is serviceable. They brought back his buddy Randall Cobb. Tanyan, and I hope he's okay, is serviceable. There's very, very good. Mercedes Lewis. They have a lot of weapons. They have a lot of solid, but Devontae Adams is a clear-cut number 1. And they went out and paid Aaron Jones, and they have A.J. Dillon. The Thunder and Lightning tandem there. And their defense, apparently, again, this league is so much about the draft. Look at all the draft picks Brian Gutekunst hits, right? Look at all of them that he picks and hits on. He doesn't miss much. And it showed again on Thursday Night Football against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, where do the Green Bay Packers go from here? Look, to me, at 7-1, first in the NFC North, It's a very clear-cut situation. They've got a really, really, really interesting stretch coming up. They end the year with Minnesota and Cleveland, which they should walk over both of those teams. They've got the Bears in the middle of December, but they go at Kansas City. That's next. What will Kansas City be at that time? I don't know. That's a Fox game, by the way, late Sunday. Can you imagine the number that game is going to do? Oh my goodness. It might do like a 27-28 share. I mean, it really might, It really might. Several million people in America will watch that. Then they have the Seahawks at home. Should win that game. I don't know if Russell Wilson will be back by then. That's a couple weeks away. I would assume so, but you never know. At Minnesota's a tough game, but they should win that. Then it's home for the Rams. Then they should walk the Bears. Then they're at the Ravens. Tough game there. Wicked defense. Home atmosphere. They host Cleveland. Should be a win. Minnesota host at Detroit. Now, again, they could be sitting people by then. I don't know. They're 7-1. So out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games to go, which still seems odd to me because I love the 16-game schedule. It's an even number. You didn't need it. But hey, the NFL is promoting player safety, but we play another game. Sure thing. If in the 9 games, I think this is a 7-2 football team the rest of the way. I don't like to be the guy who says, that's a win, this is a win, that's a loss, that's a loss, because injuries happen on both sides. Different things can take place. But I think when I look at the whole, I'm like, okay, like that, on the whole, 7-2, okay, maybe you lose, maybe you get upset on the road by the Vikings, but then you beat Baltimore, right? So you trade off there. All I know is there's 9 games left, and out of all of them, when anything can happen on any given Sunday or Monday or Thursday, Green Bay at 7-2 for me seems like a safe bet. 14-3, and here's the kicker. Is that enough to get home field advantage in the NFC? The Packers are clearly ahead of the Cardinals right now. When you win these type of games, it literally is like 2 wins. And I had to explain this to somebody like 1,000 times last week, over again, to make them understand what I meant, right? So the Packers beat the Cardinals, and I'll tell you what, not only did they beat them, right? So they have a leg up in the standings there. But then you add another layer of it, which is the home field aspect. They have the tiebreaker against them as of right now, right? Like that's as of right now. That's what happens. And it's big. It's huge. So the teams, I would say, that are sort of in that home field battle the most, I would say would be Green Bay. I think Dallas is going to fall off here in the not too distant future. But I would say Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and the Rams, at this particular point. I think, you're going to have a couple teams kind of hover around. A lot of teams are down and out. A lot of teams are maybe wild card teams, but not as good as those 3. It appears as though those 3 are the big 3. And Arizona was one of the big 4, but now I think they're behind because I think Green Bay really going into hostile territory, being an undefeated team, that offense, those playmakers, that physicality, that speed. Arizona flies the ball, man. They are a very, very fast football team. And I'll get to them in a minute and kind of them the rest of the way too. But I'm telling you right now that when you win a game like this halfway through the season, it's a major, major deal. The Packers have shown it all. Up until this point, it looked like to me that they didn't, they weren't really like playing their A football. I think they beat the Cardinals with B football again. I really do. I think their defense played A+ football, but I think overall they played like a B+ game. I really do. They made plays when they needed to. That counts for an A+, of course, but overall, now B+. I mean, Rodgers had 184 yards, 22 of 37, 2 touchdowns. He was good enough. He wasn't great. He wasn't awful. He was in the middle. Like, they went into Arizona and played a team game and won by 3. It was a physical game. Points were hard to come by. It was only 10-7 at the half, and then each team scored 14 in the second. It was not a game in the 30s as I expected. I thought Rodgers would light him up. I thought Murray would light him up. I thought this would be a shootout type of a thing, but I credit both defensive coordinators and the game plans and the like for being able to do this. What a great win for Green Bay. If I'm a Packer fan and I'm thinking about my season right now, and I'm thinking about the offseason and what could have been, and the possibility that I might have lost my quarterback. I mean, look, if you've got Jordan Love right now, and this is especially true for last Thursday's game against Arizona, because you didn't have Devontae Adams and you were missing Lazar as well. I'm here to tell you that if you had Jordan Love, you would be up shit creek without a paddle, and I would give you 2 wins at the most. Aaron Rodgers is in there. They're 7-1, and they are in the literal driver's seat, right? Literally in the driver's seat right now for home field advantage, right? I mean, them, Tampa, the Rams, they're all kind of in the driver's seat, right? But like Green Bay beating Arizona, they beat the undefeated team, which means they, more than the other two, have that tiebreak, against Arizona. Allen Lazard out. Devontae Adams out. If you had Jordan Love in there, you would have lost by 30 to the Cardinals. The Packers have had a lot of shaky games this year. They've played C plus B, B plus football. I mean, if they have Jordan Love in there, I can tell you right now, they don't beat Cincinnati. They're not even in that mess of missed field goals towards the end. Would they miss eight something field goals in the last 5 minutes or whatever the heck the number was? I can tell you right now, they do not beat the 49ers on the road in week 3. They don't. They probably beat the Lions. At the Bears, I don't know. Washington football team, 14-point game. I don't know. I really don't. Just a great win. I mean, a phenomenal win for Green Bay. It was just a tremendous win. Tremendous win. And by the way, I got to add this before I get to the Cardinals part of this. Rasul Douglas, who had the game-saving INT, he was on the Cardinals practice squad earlier this month. He's got to be feeling pretty good. ML Sports Platter brought to you by Stanley Law Offices, Liverpool Physical Therapy, Barks and Rec Doggy Daycare, with big support and thank you to the Swan and Whitaker families for continuing to impact and support the ML Sports Platter. Let's go on over to the Cardinals here. Man, Kyler Murray was not good. He was having trouble right from the get-go. I could see it was going to be a tough night for him. He was really having a hard time reading the Packer defense. A lot of disguising for Green Bay. Are they blitzing? Are they not? Are they going to, bring the linebackers up? Are they not? Are they this? Very, very great game plan. Very good game plan by Green Bay. Safeties up or are they back? They took away, for the most part, the big play. DeAndre Hopkins only had 2 catches for 66 yards. You sign up all day long for that if you're a defense. I don't care how good your defense is. You sign up for that. A.J. Green, 5 for 50. Christian Kirk, 4 for 46. I like Kirk a lot. Zach Ertz, 4 catches for 42 yards. Not really that great being on my fantasy team, my man. In fact, it's funny. James Conner is on the team I'm playing, so my man Chaz has got him this week. And, of course, James Conner scores 2 touchdowns. The first touchdown, though, Zach Ertz caught the ball and got tackled at like the 2. I'm like, of course he did. And then James Conner ran it in. I'm like, it's funny. Fantasy is just like the real NFL in a way, right? You look at fantasy different because certain players are better fantasy players than players in general. For example, Cole Beasley this year has only really popped off in 1 game against the Titans. All the other games, I haven't played him. He's not that great of a fantasy player. He's a slot receiver, but he's not a great fantasy player. I wouldn't put him in over Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, right? We wouldn't put him in there right now over Cooper Kupp. Those are Derrick Henry, phenomenal. And again, I know that's different positions, but those are phenomenal fantasy players. In this particular case, the similarity is for sure like, oh, if that happens, this doesn't happen. You think about trials, tribulations in a game where oh man, if you get touchdowns on those first two drives, you're looking back on that, you win that game, those kind of things. And in fantasy, you're like, man, if Zach Ertz had scored, I'd be like 10 percentage points, higher to win in my fantasy league. So there are a few things that are very similar. Where do the Cardinals go from here? Well, I mean, look, I think they're fine. I mean, they're still a 7-1 football team. They're still the top echelon of the NFC. But I want to see what the Cardinals do from here, to see if they've learned from last year. Was this a game, and I haven't read it yet anywhere. I don't know if Cardinal Twitter is saying it. I don't follow anyone on Cardinals Twitter. Twitter isn't real life anyway. But, you think to yourself, okay, last year when they had the Hail Murray, and they took a nosedive. And the Bills ended up going on a huge run, going to the AFC title game. Have the Cardinals learned from, last year? And it's weird because it's the question is the same in a different circumstance. What I mean by that is sometimes you can get a major, huge, crazy end of the game buzzer win like they did against Buffalo, and then they're riding the high and they get wicked confident in this, and then they tumble down. A game against Green Bay, which they lose, they're going to go up against the San Fran team this coming week. They should win that game. They have Carolina and then at Seattle. I mean, the next three they should win. They should be 10. Actually, they should win the next four going into the LA Rams game, right? Because they have a bye week, and then they prepare for the Bears on the road. They have the Rams on December 13th. The Cardinals should be 11-1 at that particular point. That's why this win for Green Bay is so big, because Arizona really should reel off 4 in a row. They should. San Francisco's no good. Big-time quarterback problems, always injured. Carolina's free-falling. At Seattle with Wilson, will he be back by then? I guess. But then, even with him, they're not that good. And then they should win at the Bears. I mean, they should be 4-0 coming out of the gate and 11-1 going into that Ram game, right? And then they have Detroit, and then they have the Colts, Dallas, and Seattle. I mean, the schedule is very, very, very doable. I mean, the toughest games for them are at home, by the way. Indianapolis and Los Angeles, although, Dallas is on the road. Dallas and the Rams are the two toughest games. Indianapolis will be right behind that. But 2 of the 3 are at home, right, out of that group. This Cardinal team should be a 14-3 football team, right? I mean, they should have the same record as Green Bay, which, again, brings me back to the other point. That's why this win was so big. Because if Green Bay and Arizona finish 14-3, Green Bay gets the edge on home field. I mean, that's how... this is a game separated by inches and small factoids and all the rest. But I want to see what this Cardinal team does. Because does this game, and I haven't read this yet, but, does this game impact the mental side? Does it impact, the Cardinals, can't win on the big stage, still against the big team, the big brand, and the big quarterback, and the Hall of Fame guy, and it, because this was one of those games. I mean, it really was. They manhandled Cleveland a couple weeks ago. They manhandled the Texans last week. They're not really a football team. They barely beat 49ers, but they beat the Rams by 17. That was probably their biggest win of the year on the road. I mean, they smoked the Rams. That was a huge win. But before that, it was Jacksonville, Minnesota. They did smoke Tennessee the first week of the season as well. And I remember the week 1 overreaction that Tennessee was dead. Now look at Tennessee, right? It's, again, overreaction. Nothing is more overrated and overreactionary than NFL Week 1. I mean, there's nothing quite like it, right? I think Arizona will be okay, but I think they're a 14. I think they slip up a couple more times somewhere. I don't know where, but I'll pick them to go 14-3 as well. I think they'll be okay, though. And I think they'll be a threat in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. Because I think they're going to learn from last year. Now, you have the Rams, you have the Bucks. Let's see where those teams kind of mark up. But I think 14-3, will there be a team that goes 15-2? I think 15-2 might be the number in the NFC to get home field advantage. 15-2. Think about that for a second. I think 13-4 is the number in the AFC as of right now. I just do, because I think Tennessee is really good, but I'm not sure they're a 13-win football team. The Bills are in the conversation. They got to go on a run. They have a soft schedule. The Bengals, we don't know if they're ready yet for the stage. Same with the Chargers, same with the Raiders. So I'm leaving those guys back. The Ravens, they're a solid team, but do they jump off the page as a 13-win team to you? They don't to me. 14 wins, 15 wins? Yeah, that jumps off the page when we're talking Rams, Bucks, Packers, and to a degree the Cardinals. So I think these two teams are going to be fine. I think that game was really, really fun, really, really physical, really, really great. I'll tell you, when you look at these if they meet again, these defenses really came to play, and that was an Arizona defense that was super aggressive as well without J.J. Watt. Chandler Jones was back, but he didn't look right. He didn't look himself. He only had one tackle, and it was a solo. They were carried by, really Jordan Hicks and Thompson and Budda Baker. Budda Baker's been unreal all year. Their linebackers were solid, although in run game in big run game downs, they were manhandled by the Packer running backs. They were manhandled by the line. They were. I mean, Isaiah Simmons got trampled over a couple of times. So, some things to fix for Arizona, certainly. Green Bay did not play a perfect game as well, but it was a good game. It was a good physical game between two of the best in the NFL, and I really enjoyed it. What a win for Green Bay. Hats off. Rasul Douglas on that practice squad for the Arizona Cardinals, now making the INT to save the game for Green Bay against Arizona. And, when the Packers play, some A football, huh? What in the world is going to happen when they play A football? AA plus football. It's going to be interesting. Mike Lindsley with you. It's the ML Sports Platter, brought to you by our great friends at Rosie's Corner. If you're in and around central New York, right off the Bartell Road exit in Brewerton, get on over to Rosie's. Pizza, wings, pasta, hot and cold subs, and more. The stuffed shells, the classic burger, fried shrimp, you name it. No, by the way, they have the custom homemade food, cold menu items, cold weather menu items, and they are to die for. I had the turkey slop last week, amazing. Chicken and biscuits the week before, amazing. They have meatloaf Monday, and of course fish Friday every week with the coleslaw fries and mac and cheese. They also serve up mac and cheese on Thursdays as well. I would recommend a couple of things. If you've been to Rosie's a couple of times, you want to try something new, try the Meatball Bomber, try the Gold Fever, or the Garlic Parm Wings. Rosie's Corner, getting it done. Go find them on Instagram and on Facebook, and they deliver via Grubhub as well. We are also presented by our great friends at Sit Mean Sit Syracuse, your State Farm agent, Matt Graham, Stanley Law Offices, and Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual New York State. Tax-efficient retirement planning. Get your financial future in order today. Go visit Brian on LinkedIn and Facebook and at advisors.massmutual.com. Find my ML Sports takes all over the social platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, IGTV, and TikTok. And, of course, you can hit me on Twitter at Mike L. Sports, the ML Sports Platter, on Instagram and Facebook as well. Follow along. Send me some topic ideas and some of your thoughts in the world of sports as well. Thanks again for listening to the ML Sports Platter. And as I always tell you, enjoy the games.